Does Naoya Inoue get hit too much? Is he like Manny Pacquiao? Let's get into it. How similar are they? I feel like Pacquiao and Inoue are a lot similar, and they're similar in a lot of ways, honestly. Like, you look at the offense, you look at how they approach fights. Nowadays, it's hard to see guys that, they get dropped, they get embarrassed, and then they come back harder, right? With Pacquiao, we saw it against Marquez, got dropped, and then ultimately came back, but ultimately got knocked out. But, like, just that willingness to say, like, I don't care what happens, let's make it happen. Like, let's get a brawl going. I want to throw some bombs, you throw some bombs, and whoever goes down, goes down. That's how Pacquiao was. That's how he still is. He's returning to the sport, obviously. But Inoue's, the new version, honestly. That's the closest thing we have to Manny Pacquiao in terms of talent, in terms of willingness to go out there and put on a show, the willingness to entertain the fans and not really care about getting embarrassed. I mean, he's been dropped twice in the span of, a year, and still continues to get up and fight back harder, ends up stopping his opponent. So you have a guy with just as much killer instinct, but a lot of people are saying, he's gotten dropped. Like I said, 2 times, and not back-to-back, but he got dropped twice in the span of like less than a year. So is he getting hit too much? How are you going to be on Pacquiao's level? You haven't even fought guys that Pacquiao has fought. You don't have the accolades that Pacquiao has, but like, there's so much separation in it, though. Inoue's just like too good for everybody that's around his weight class, and that's not his fault. He can't, put Barrera, he can't put Morales into, his resume and, turn them into 25 prime versions of themselves and then fight them. That's not how the sport of boxing works. You can only fight who's out there. The opposition available is all you have. So Inoue's doing great. He's doing phenomenal. I think he's probably saving boxing right now, in a time where there's a lot of inactivity, and then when guys are active, they're not fighting the best, and they're fighting scared. Inoue's not one of those guys. He's one of those fighters, you can ensure that no matter who he's fighting, he's going to try to take that guy's head off and go for the kill. That's hard to say. That's hard to find nowadays. It's really rare to find fighters like that, and Inoue's one of them. He's honestly one of one right now because, with Pacquiao obviously being, well, he's out of retirement now, but for the most part, he's inactive, and you have a guy like Inoue who's, the comparisons are there, and it's not just because he's Asian, but, because he's a lighter fighter and he's beating up all of these guys, and he's an exciting offensive fighter. It doesn't have to be about race. Like, Pacquiao and Inoue are very similar in a lot of senses, but they're also very different. Pacquiao was a southpaw. Both guys get hit a decent amount. Pacquiao's been dropped. Pacquiao's been knocked out. Inoue, has been dropped. He's been hurt. But, no matter what, these two kinds of guys are cut from the same cloth. Pacquiao and Inoue, they don't care about, getting hurt. They don't care about getting embarrassed. They're there to, make a fight happen and please the fans and, show how great they are. That's how competitors really operate. That's how they should operate. And like I said, I think Inoue, he fights Nakatani. That's a tremendous fight. That one might go down in the history books. I'm really excited for that to potentially happen in the near future. But for now, he just has to keep, doing what he's doing. I heard he's fighting MJ. That's what he talked about in his post-fight interview. And, Pacquiao fighting Barrios, both of these guys, legends, honestly, legends. Inoue's already one of the biggest legends in the sport right now because of how he fights. Putting your foot on that gas pedal even when you're hurt, and when most people would question themselves after getting dropped, this guy doesn't care. So that's a very rare and unappreciated thing nowadays. People don't understand how difficult that is to do. Like, people will try to fight, but they're not really fighting. Inoue, reassesses that whole situation. When he got dropped, he took a second while he was on a knee and said, I'm good. Composed himself, got himself back together, and went straight at Cardenas again. And that showed me everything I needed to see. Like, not many guys are willing to do that at the pinnacle of boxing, at the most elite level. A lot of fighters would back down and reset, have to take 2 to 3 rounds off and just cruise to a decision where they survive and potentially lose a decision. And Inoue said, hold my beer, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to get this guy out of here. And Inoue did that, no hesitation, didn't even think about it. As soon as he got dropped, went straight back to Cardenas and went to him and tried to get him out of there, and that's what he did. It was really impressive to see him not be tentative at all. Like, he was honestly pretty reckless, but it was awesome to see. That's what boxing looks like. That's the kind of fight that you want to represent the sport of boxing. That's warrior shit, and not a lot of people are on that, but Inoue's really like that. Like, people don't understand. He's really like that. Nobody else in the sport of boxing is doing it the way Inoue is at the highest level, and how dominant he is, and how he doesn't give a shit about what people, you know, think. He's going straight at you. So respect to Inoue. I think he's the best thing since Pacquiao. I don't know if he's there yet. You know, we'll only be able to tell when, you know, he fights, you know, maybe at some higher weight classes, but I heard he's going to go to 26 or 30, and that's it. But, you know, we'll wait for his career to finish out, but he's looking real good so far. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Nabs Boxing video. Peace.